What if I told you one of the most powerful self-help books ever written was never meant to be published? No audience, no fame, no money. Just one man, writing to survive his own mind. This book has helped soldiers stay calm under fire, CEOs make clear decisions under pressure, athletes control fear before big moments, prisoners find peace in confinement, and everyday people learn how to let go of anger, stress, and chaos. And today, it might change the way you see your own life. This is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who ruled the most powerful empire on earth, yet still struggled with fear, loss, pressure, exhaustion, and self-doubt, just like you and me. This video is not entertainment. It's a reminder that your mind can either be your prison or your greatest weapon. Almost 2,000 years ago, the most powerful man on earth didn't write this book to teach others. He wrote it to survive his own thoughts. And that's what makes this book different from every other self-help book you've seen. No hype, no motivational screaming, no promises of instant success, just truth. Marcus Aurelius was born into power, but his life was anything but easy. He ruled during constant wars. A deadly plague killed millions. People betrayed him. Friends died. His own body was weak and sick most of his life, and every single day the weight of an entire empire sat on his shoulders. So at night, when the world finally went quiet, he wrote, not for history, not for followers, not for legacy. He wrote reminders to himself. Stay calm. Control your anger. Don't let ego corrupt you. Accept what you can't control. Do your duty, then let go. Meditations is not a book. It's a conversation with the mind. That's why it feels so raw, so honest, so real. There's no perfect structure, no polished chapters, just thoughts written by a man trying not to lose himself in power, stress, and chaos. And here's the wild part. Marcus Aurelius never wanted you to read this. He never imagined soldiers would carry it into battle, that presidents would study it, that athletes would use it to master pressure, that people, centuries later, would still open these pages looking for peace. Yet, here we are. Because human problems haven't changed. We still worry about things we can't control. We still get angry at people who don't matter. We still stress over the future and replay the past. We still feel overwhelmed, insecure, and lost. Marcus felt all of that too. And instead of running from it, he faced it with discipline, clarity, and brutal honesty. This book won't tell you how to get rich. It won't promise happiness. It won't lie to you. What it will do is teach you how to stay calm when life gets loud, how to let go when holding on is destroying you, how to remain steady when everything around you feels out of control. Meditations is not about escaping life. It's about mastering yourself inside it. So as you listen, don't rush. Don't look for quick motivation. Listen like Marcus wrote it for you, because in a strange way, he did. And if you actually listen, not just hear the words, but apply them, this book doesn't just change how you think, it changes how you live. Point 1. Control what you can. Marcus Aurelius starts with one brutal truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Read that again. Not over people, not over outcomes, not over luck, timing, or chaos. Only over your mind. Marcus wrote this while ruling an empire that was literally falling apart around him. Wars on multiple borders, political enemies inside Rome, a deadly plague killing citizens every day. If anyone had a reason to panic, complain, or break down, it was him. But instead, he trained himself to ask one question. What is actually under my control right now? And the answer was never the situation. It was always his response. This idea later shaped some of the most respected leaders in American history. George Washington is a perfect example. During the Revolutionary War, Washington lost battles, Soldiers deserted, supplies ran out. Winter nearly destroyed his army. Nothing was going according to plan. But here's what people noticed about him. He never lost control publicly. He didn't explode in anger. He didn't blame fate. He didn't spiral into fear. He focused on discipline, preparation, and composure. Exactly what Marcus Aurelius believed. Washington understood something most people still struggle with today. Panic doesn't fix problems, clarity does. That's why Americans respect this mindset so deeply. It's responsibility over excuses, calm over chaos, action over whining. Now bring this into your own life. You can't control your boss's mood, traffic, the economy, other people's opinions, past mistakes. But you can control how you react, how you speak, how you prepare, how you discipline yourself. Marcus would say this very clearly. The moment you stop fighting reality, you gain power over yourself. Most stress comes from trying to control things that were never yours to control. Someone disrespects you, and you replay it all night. Plans fall apart, and you panic. Life feels unfair, and you get angry at the universe. Marcus calls that wasted energy. He reminds himself again and again, if it's not up to you, let it go. Not because you don't care, but because your peace is more valuable than your ego. This is the foundation of meditations. Before success, before happiness, before confidence, control your mind first, because once you master that, life can throw anything at you, and you won't break. Point 2. Let go of other people's opinions. Marcus Aurelius had absolute power, titles, status, authority. Yet even he wrote reminders like this to himself. Do not waste what remains of your life worrying about what other people think. That line alone exposes something uncomfortable. No matter how high you rise, the noise never stops. People judged Marcus constantly. Senators criticized him. Soldiers questioned his decisions. Citizens blamed him for disasters he couldn't control. And still, he had to wake up every morning and lead. So he trained his mind to do something most of us still fail at today. Stop outsourcing self-worth to the crowd. Marcus understood a hard truth. If you let other people's opinions run your mind, you will never be free. He wrote this book to remind himself of that again and again, because even emperors forget. Now bring this into modern life. Imagine a regular guy today. He posts something online, maybe a thought, maybe a win, maybe an opinion. He refreshes the screen. Few likes, one negative comment, and suddenly his mood changes. He questions himself. He overthinks. He replays the comment all day. Marcus would look at this and say, "You just handed control of your inner peace to a stranger." That's the danger Marcus warns about. Not criticism itself, but giving it power. He reminds himself, what people say is outside your control. What you think about it is not. This is not about becoming cold or careless. It's about understanding whose voice matters. Marcus divides the world into two groups, things that belong to you, things that do not. Other people's opinions never belong to you. They are shaped by their mood, their past, their insecurities, their ignorance. Yet we treat them like facts. That's how stress is born. Marcus writes about waking up each day expecting this reality. You will meet people who are selfish, ungrateful, dishonest, jealous, and rude. Not because life is cruel, but because people are human. If you expect approval from everyone, you are setting yourself up for constant disappointment. Marcus learned this at the highest level of power. Even as emperor, he couldn't please everyone. So he asked himself one grounding question. Am I acting according to reason and virtue? Not, do they like me? Do they agree with me? Did I impress them? Just one thing. Did I act with integrity? That question alone can save you years of mental suffering. Now, think about how much of your life is shaped by fear of judgment. You hesitate to speak up. You delay starting something new. You hide parts of yourself. Why? Because of imagined reactions in other people's heads. Marcus would call this a mental prison. He believed that most people are not even thinking about you. They're busy dealing with their own fears. And even when they do judge you, it doesn't actually change who you are. Here's a powerful Stoic insight Marcus repeats. Another person's wrong opinion cannot harm you. Only your agreement with it can. That's where real damage happens. Marcus trained himself to pause when criticized. Instead of reacting emotionally, he asked, "Is this true?" If yes, learn from it. If no, ignore it. No anger, no defensiveness, no spiral, just clarity. This mindset is why Stoicism has helped soldiers, athletes, and leaders. In high-pressure situations, you don't have time to worry about being liked. You need focus. Marcus also reminds himself how temporary everything is. People judging you today will be gone tomorrow, forgotten in a few years, dust in a few centuries. So why give them power over your present moment? He writes, "Soon you will have forgotten everything. Soon everyone will have forgotten you." Not to depress, but to liberate. When you truly accept this, you stop performing for approval and start living with intention. Now let's bring this back to real life. Think of the workplace. Your boss criticizes you unfairly. A coworker talks behind your back. Your mind wants revenge, wants validation, wants to prove something. Marcus would step in and say, "Focus on doing your job well. Let their character reveal itself." You don't need to control the narrative. Truth has a way of surfacing. Same with social media. Endless comparison, curated lives, fake perfection. Marcus would laugh at this. He constantly reminds himself that appearances lie. What you see is never the full story. So comparing your behind-the-scenes life to someone else's highlight reel is madness. Marcus knew this long before Instagram existed. He warned himself, do not let your imagination exaggerate things. Because imagination, not reality, causes most suffering. The art of letting go in this chapter is simple but not easy. Stop trying to manage how others see you. You cannot control it. You never could. What you can control is your actions, your values, and your effort. That's it. Marcus Aurelius didn't need applause to rule well. He needed discipline. And that same discipline can free you. When you stop chasing approval, your energy comes back to you. You think clearer. You move faster. You live lighter. This is not indifference. This is inner freedom. And according to Marcus Aurelius, nothing is more powerful than that. Point 3. Everything is temporary. Marcus Aurelius keeps returning to one quiet, uncomfortable truth. All things pass away. He didn't write this to scare himself. He wrote it to steady himself. Because when you truly understand that everything is temporary, life loses its power to overwhelm you. Marcus was an emperor, but he lived surrounded by loss. Generals died. Friends betrayed him. Children didn't survive. Cities collapsed. A plague wiped out millions during his reign. Everywhere he looked, something was ending. So instead of resisting this reality, Marcus trained himself to accept it deeply. He wrote reminders like, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change." In other words, nothing stays the same. Not pain, not success, not fear, not happiness. We suffer because we expect permanence in a temporary world. Think about modern life. A man loses a job. It feels like the end of everything. Identity crushed, confidence shaken. Marcus would gently remind him, this moment is not your life. It is only a chapter. The pain feels permanent, but it isn't. You felt this before. That heartbreak you thought you'd never recover from. That failure you replayed endlessly, that phase of stress where sleep disappeared, and yet you're still here. Marcus uses impermanence not to minimize pain, but to put it in perspective. He tells himself, if it can be endured, then endure it. Why? Because time will carry it away. This is where Stoicism becomes incredibly practical. When something goes wrong, Marcus doesn't ask, why is this happening to me? He asks, how long will this really matter? Weeks, months, years. Eventually, even the biggest events fade. He reminds himself that fame fades too. This is especially powerful. Marcus Aurelius ruled the greatest empire of his time. Statues were built in his honor. Crowds bowed when he entered a city. Yet he constantly wrote, soon you will have forgotten everything. Soon everyone will have forgotten you. Imagine the humility in that. He refused to let success intoxicate him because he knew it was temporary. This idea is deeply grounding for modern life. Think about how much anxiety comes from clinging. Clinging to a relationship that's already fading, a version of yourself that no longer fits, a past success, a past mistake, Marcus would say. Why are you holding on to smoke? Nothing stays. Once you accept this, something powerful happens. You stop panicking in bad times because you know they will pass. And you stop becoming arrogant in good times because you know they won't last either. Balance replaces chaos. Marcus also applies impermanence to people's opinions. He reminds himself, the voices criticizing you today will be silent tomorrow. This destroys the power of judgment. What feels heavy now will feel distant later. That awareness alone can calm a racing mind. He even applies this thinking to life itself. Marcus constantly reflects on death, not morbidly, but honestly. He writes, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This is not fear-based. It's focus-based. When you remember that time is limited, you stop wasting it on nonsense. You stop arguing over small things. You stop postponing what matters. Impermanence sharpens priorities. Now let's bring this into everyday reality. Think of someone stuck in anger. They replay an argument over and over. Days pass, weeks pass. Marcus would interrupt this loop with one question. Will this matter in a year? Usually the answer is no, and if it won't matter later, why sacrifice peace now? This is not avoidance, it's wisdom. Marcus also talks about how the body itself changes. Strength fades, youth passes, health declines. Instead of fearing this, he accepts it as natural. He writes about cooperating with nature, not fighting it. Modern culture lies to us by promising permanence, eternal youth, endless growth, constant happiness. Marcus rejects all of it. He tells himself, everything that happens is natural, and what is natural cannot harm me. That mindset removes a huge amount of fear. When you stop expecting life to be stable, you stop being shocked when it isn't. And when you stop being shocked, you regain calm. Impermanence also teaches gratitude. When you know moments are temporary, you value them more. A quiet morning, a conversation, a small win. Marcus would notice these things because he knew they wouldn't last. That's the paradox. Accepting impermanence doesn't make life colder. It makes it richer. You become present. You stop rushing through moments as if they're guaranteed. In this chapter of Meditations, Marcus isn't asking you to give up on life. He's asking you to stop demanding certainty from it. Let things come. Let things go. Pain will visit. So will joy. Neither is permanent. And that realization is not weakness. It's strength. Because once you truly understand that everything passes, you stop clinging, you stop panicking, and you start living with clarity. That is the quiet power Marcus Aurelius wanted for himself. And it's the same power he offers you. Point 4. Pain is part of the deal. Marcus Aurelius never believed life was supposed to be easy. That idea, that comfort is normal and pain is unfair, is what he thought destroys people from the inside. So he reminded himself of this constantly. If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. That sounds harsh at first, but Marcus wasn't being cruel. He was being honest. Marcus lived in pain. Not metaphorical pain, physical pain. Historical records tell us he was sick most of his life. Chronic stomach illness, weak health, sleepless nights. Add to that, wars that never ended, a plague killing millions, political pressure, responsibility for an entire empire. And yet, he never wrote about how unfair life was. Instead, he trained himself to accept pain as part of the human contract, because resistance multiplies suffering. Marcus understood something most people never realize. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Suffering begins when you say, "This shouldn't be happening to me." Marcus removed that sentence from his mind. He wrote, "Do not add to the burden of what happens by complaining." In modern life, this is revolutionary. Think about how pain shows up today. A man wakes up tired, work feels heavy, responsibilities stack up. Instead of just feeling tired, his mind adds a story. I hate my life. Why is this happening to me? I shouldn't have to deal with this. Now the pain has doubled. Marcus would stop that instantly. He would say, "You are tired. That's all. Don't poison the moment with judgment. This is not about suppressing pain. It's about not dramatizing it." Marcus believed most people collapse not from pain itself, but from the meaning they attach to it. He saw pain as information, not an enemy. Cold, wear a cloak. Hungry, eat. Tired, rest. No emotional meltdown required. This mindset made Marcus incredibly resilient. And this is why Stoicism has been used by soldiers in combat, prisoners in isolation, athletes under pressure. When pain arrives, they don't ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What's required of me now?" That question changes everything. Marcus also trained himself through voluntary discomfort. He would intentionally sleep on hard surfaces, eat simple food, avoid luxury. Why? Not because he hated pleasure, but because he didn't want to become weak. He wrote reminders like, "You can endure much more than you think." He wanted proof, so when real hardship arrived, it didn't shock him. Modern life has removed this training. Comfort is everywhere, food on demand, entertainment non-stop. So when discomfort appears, stress, rejection, struggle, people collapse. Marcus would say, "You trained for pleasure, not for life." Pain to Marcus was a teacher. It revealed weak habits, false expectations, attachment to comfort. He didn't seek pain, but he didn't run from it either. Now let's bring this into a real-life example. Think of a man starting something new. A business, fitness, a discipline. The early phase hurts, no results. Doubt creeps in, body aches, mind wants comfort. Most people quit here. Marcus would lean in. He would say, "Of course this hurts. Growth always does." Pain is the entry fee. If you avoid it, you avoid transformation. Marcus also separates pain from identity. You feel pain, but you are not broken. You experience struggle, but you are not weak. This distinction is crucial. Modern language says, "I am depressed. I am anxious. I am stressed." Marcus would correct that. He would say, "You feel these things. They do not define you." This creates space between you and the pain. Space creates control. Marcus also believed that pain tests character. When pressure increases, your true values surface. Do you become bitter or better? Do you lash out or stay composed? Pain exposes the inner structure. That's why Marcus valued it, not because it felt good, but because it showed him who he really was. He even reframed insult and disrespect. When people criticized him unfairly, he didn't react emotionally. He wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed," meaning pain requires your permission. Not all pain, but emotional pain. You don't control what people say, but you control whether it wounds you. This is elite mental discipline. Now think about how much pain comes from resistance, fighting reality, arguing with facts, wishing things were different. Marcus would call this madness. He believed peace comes from cooperation with reality, not surrender, but acceptance. Once you accept the situation, you can act intelligently. Pain becomes manageable. He also reminds himself that pain has limits. No emotion lasts forever. No sensation stays permanent. This connects to impermanence. Pain feels endless, but it never is. Marcus used this awareness to endure long hardship. He didn't rush the pain away. He walked through it. And because of that, it lost its power over him. The art of letting go in this point is this. Stop fighting pain. Stop labeling it as unfair. Stop demanding comfort. Meet pain with calm attention. Do what must be done. Endure what must be endured. Not with bitterness, but with strength. Marcus Aurelius didn't promise a painless life. He promised a stronger mind. And in the real world, that's far more valuable, because pain will come, whether you're ready or not. The question Marcus asks is simple. When it arrives, will it break you, or will it shape you? Point 5. Character over status. Marcus Aurelius was surrounded by power, absolute power. Titles, wealth, authority, and influence followed him everywhere. People bowed when he entered a room. His words could decide life or death. And yet, one of his biggest fears was not losing power. It was becoming corrupted by it. So he wrote constant warnings to himself, not about enemies, not about war, but about his own character. He reminds himself again and again, "Take care not to be transformed into a Caesar." That line is powerful. He wasn't afraid of losing the throne. He was afraid of losing his humanity. Marcus understood something most people learn too late. Success doesn't ruin people. Ego does. Power reveals who you really are. And Marcus did not trust himself blindly. That's why Meditations exists. It's a discipline manual against arrogance. Now bring this into real life. Think of a man who finally gets recognition, a promotion, money, respect. Slowly, his tone changes, patience drops, kindness fades. He interrupts more, listens less. Marcus would see this as failure, not because success is wrong, but because character should grow with responsibility, not shrink. He believed that the higher your position, the higher your moral standard must be. He reminds himself, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. No excuses, no speeches, just action. Marcus didn't believe in moral performance. He believed in quiet consistency, how you treat people who can do nothing for you, how you speak when no one is watching, how you behave under pressure. That's character. And Marcus judged himself ruthlessly on it. He also warns about status. Titles fade, crowds change, respect disappears fast. So if your identity is built on position, you are fragile. Marcus writes, "What is praised is temporary. What matters is how you act." This is a direct attack on ego. He didn't want to be remembered as powerful. He wanted to be just. That distinction matters. Now think about modern culture. Social media celebrates image over substance, noise over integrity, status over values. Marcus would reject all of it. He believed true worth is internal. No one can take it from you. No applause can add to it. That's why he focused on self-mastery. Marcus also understood that authority tempts cruelty. When you have power, you can act without consequences. He warned himself not to do that. He writes reminders like, Be strict with yourself and tolerant of others. This is rare. Most people flip it. They are harsh with others and forgiving with themselves. Marcus reversed that. He held himself to a higher standard so he wouldn't abuse power. Now apply this to everyday life. You don't need to be an emperor to practice this. You have power in small ways, as a boss, as a parent, as a friend, as a partner. How you use that power defines you. Do you dominate, or do you guide? Do you seek control, or responsibility? Marcus believed leadership was service, not dominance. That's why he studied philosophy, even as emperor. He wanted reminders that he was human. He wrote about how quickly rulers fall, how many great names are forgotten. He lists emperors before him, once feared, now dust. This wasn't sadness, it was grounding. It kept his ego in check. He knew that history erases status but remembers virtue. Marcus also talks about hypocrisy, doing the right thing publicly while acting selfishly privately. He hated that. He demanded alignment. Your values must show up when no one is watching. That's why Meditations is so personal. It wasn't meant to impress. It was meant to correct. Marcus used writing as a mirror. Every line asks, "Are you living up to this?" That level of self-honesty is rare, and it's uncomfortable, but it builds unshakable character. He also reminds himself to forgive, not because people deserve it, but because resentment poisons the mind. Power makes grudges tempting. Marcus refused them. He chose clarity over control. The art of letting go in this point is letting go of ego, letting go of the need to feel superior, letting go of the hunger for admiration, letting go of identity tied to status. Because the moment success defines you, you become its prisoner. Marcus Aurelius wanted freedom. Not freedom from responsibility, but freedom from arrogance. He believed the greatest empire a man can rule is himself, and that's why character mattered more than crowns. Power ends, status fades, but who you become, that stays with you. And according to Marcus Aurelius, that is the only legacy worth protecting. Point 6. Live as if today matters. Marcus Aurelius returns to this thought more than almost any other. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. That line isn't dark, it's clarifying. Marcus wasn't obsessed with death, he was obsessed with wasting life. As emperor, he watched people disappear constantly. Generals fell in battle, friends died suddenly, children didn't survive illness. Death wasn't an idea to him. It was present, so he used it as a tool, not to create fear, but to create focus. Marcus understood that procrastination is a luxury people assume they have. We'll do it later. I'll change tomorrow. One day I'll start. Marcus would call this self-deception, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. He writes to himself, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. That sentence destroys complacency. It forces a question. If today really mattered, what would you stop doing? And what would you finally begin? This is where Marcus differs from modern motivation. He doesn't say, chase your dreams. He says, stop wasting time. Very different energy. Marcus believed urgency should be calm, not frantic. No rushing, no panic, no dramatic pressure. Just seriousness. He wanted every action to be intentional. He reminds himself, concentrate every minute on doing what's in front of you with precise seriousness. That's discipline. Now bring this into real life. Think about how much time disappears every day. Endless scrolling, pointless arguments, mental replay of old mistakes, hours gone. Marcus would say, you are trading life for distractions. And once spent, time never returns. This is why he treated each day like a complete life. Not in a dramatic way, but in a grounded one. He focused on doing his duty, speaking truth, acting justly, nothing more, nothing less. He believed peace comes from finishing the day clean, not perfect, but honest. Marcus also removes fear from urgency. He wasn't saying, hurry before you die. He was saying, live before you forget how. Most people sleepwalk through life. Marcus wanted wakefulness. He reminds himself to speak honestly, now, to do the right thing, now, to let go of resentment, now. Because waiting doesn't make things easier, it just wastes energy. He also believed regret is born from delay, not from failure, but from not trying. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action," meaning even obstacles are part of the path. So why wait? This mindset is powerful for anyone stuck. A man waiting to start a business, a man avoiding a hard conversation, a man postponing discipline. Marcus would say, "What are you waiting for? Approval. Life doesn't grant permission. You act because it's right, not because it's safe." He also warns against living in the past or future. Regret lives in the past. Anxiety lives in the future. Peace lives now. That's why urgency for Marcus is about presence, fully here, fully engaged, not distracted, not half-living. He writes, "Confine yourself to the present." This is not passive, it's powerful. When you give full attention to the moment, your mind stops scattering. Urgency without panic creates clarity. Marcus also reminds himself that death equalizes everything. Titles vanish, achievements fade, status dissolves. So what matters? Your actions, your character, your effort today. That's it. This removes fear of judgment. If nothing lasts, why perform? Just act rightly. Now think about this in everyday terms. How many times have you delayed rest, delayed courage, delayed honesty? Marcus would say, do it now, not aggressively, but deliberately. The art of letting go in this point is letting go of delay, letting go of false comfort, letting go of endless preparation, letting go of the illusion of time. Because waiting is easy, living intentionally is not. Marcus Aurelius didn't know how long he had. None of us do, so he lived as if every day mattered, not by chasing pleasure, but by honoring responsibility. That's why his words still hit today. They don't hype you up, they wake you up. And once you're awake, you stop postponing life. You start living it. Point 7. Stop taking life personally. Marcus Aurelius had a perspective that instantly shrinks ego and anxiety. He reminded himself of this constantly. How small your life is in the vastness of time and space. That sentence alone can calm a storming mind. Marcus wasn't trying to make himself feel insignificant in a depressing way. He was trying to free himself. Because most suffering comes from one mistake, taking everything personally. Marcus ruled an empire, yet he never forgot this truth. The universe is not arranged for your comfort, approval, or success. Things happen because they happen, not because they are aimed at you. This realization is powerful. Think about modern life. Someone ignores your message, traffic ruins your mood, plans fall apart. Instant reaction. Why does this always happen to me? Marcus would stop that thought immediately. He would say, this is not about you. Rain doesn't fall to ruin your day. People don't wake up plotting against you. Life isn't personal. It's impersonal. This perspective dissolves unnecessary anger. Marcus observed nature closely. Seasons change without apology. Storms destroy without hatred. Time moves without concern. And yet humans demand explanations. Why me? Why now? Why unfair? Marcus believed these questions increase suffering. He wrote, everything that happens is natural. Not good, not bad, just natural. Once you accept that, you stop fighting reality. This is why Stoicism creates calm. Marcus trained himself to zoom out, to see events from above, Wars rise and fall. Cities appear and disappear. Generations pass like waves. And here we are, upset over small inconveniences. This doesn't mean your problems don't matter. It means they don't deserve to own you. Marcus would say, "You are one small part of a vast whole." And that's relieving, because if life is not personal, then failure is not humiliation, criticism is not an attack, and obstacles are not punishments. They're just events. Now bring this into real life. A man gets rejected. Instead of thinking, "I'm not good enough," Marcus would guide him to think, "This was not aligned. Move on." No drama, no identity crisis. Another example. Someone speaks rudely to you. Marcus would say, "That behavior belongs to them, not you." Why absorb what isn't yours? This detachment is not coldness, it's clarity. Marcus also talks about how people act from ignorance. He reminds himself, when someone does wrong, it is because they do not know better. This creates compassion, not tolerance for bad behavior, but freedom from resentment. Anger assumes intention, wisdom assumes ignorance. That shift alone saves energy. Marcus didn't believe the world owed him fairness. He believed expecting fairness from life was like expecting the ocean not to wave. Unrealistic. Once you accept this, you stop being shocked by reality. And shock is what causes emotional collapse. He trained himself to expect difficulty, so when it arrived, it felt normal. This mindset is incredibly strong. It creates emotional stability. Most people suffer twice, once from the event, once from resisting it. Marcus removed the second layer. He accepted reality first, then acted wisely. This is the Stoic way. He also reminds himself that humans are temporary. Your name, your problems, your victories, all brief. So why take insults so seriously? Why cling to ego? Marcus would say, "You are a visitor here." That awareness creates humility, and humility creates peace. Now think about how much stress comes from ego, needing recognition, needing validation, needing to be right. Marcus let go of all that, not because he didn't care, but because it distracted him from duty. The art of letting go in this point is letting go of self-centered thinking. Letting go of the belief that life revolves around you. Letting go of constant interpretation. Letting go of imagined meaning. When you stop taking life personally, your mind becomes lighter. You respond instead of react. You observe instead of explode. You move forward instead of spiraling. Marcus Aurelius didn't shrink himself to feel small. He zoomed out to feel free. Free from ego. Free from resentment. Free from unnecessary suffering. And once you adopt this perspective, life doesn't feel easier, but it feels clearer. And clarity, according to Marcus Aurelius, is the foundation of inner peace. If meditations had one silent message running through every page, it would be this: let go or be dragged. Marcus Aurelius didn't use that exact phrase, but he lived it. He understood that most human suffering is not caused by events, but by attachment. Attachment to outcomes, attachment to control, attachment to how things should be. So again and again he reminded himself, accept whatever comes to you, woven in the pattern of your destiny. Not as surrender, but as wisdom. Marcus ruled an empire, yet he accepted that life would never obey him. That realization is the core of Stoicism. You do your part, you act with reason, and then you let go. This is the highest form of strength. Marcus believed inner peace comes from alignment with reality. When your expectations match life as it is, suffering drops. When they don't, friction begins. Most people live in friction. They fight reality mentally all day. I shouldn't feel this way. This shouldn't be happening. They shouldn't act like that. Marcus would say, you are arguing with nature. You will lose. Letting go, for Marcus, meant releasing the need to control what never belonged to you. Other people, outcomes, timing, fate. He wrote, "Do what is yours to do and let the rest happen." That sentence alone can remove enormous stress. Modern life pushes the opposite message: control everything, plan everything, optimize everything. Marcus rejected this illusion. He believed control is limited, and peace comes from knowing where that limit is. Letting go also meant releasing anger. Marcus saw anger as self-inflicted harm. He wrote, "How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?" Anger feels powerful, but it drains clarity. Marcus trained himself to pause, to ask, "Will this matter soon? If not, release it." He didn't suppress emotion. He refused to be ruled by it. This is emotional mastery. Marcus also practiced letting go of ego. He reminded himself, "You are flesh and breath." No matter the crown, he was temporary. This kept him grounded. Ego demands control. Humility allows release. That's why Marcus focused on humility. He didn't need to prove himself. He focused on duty. Now think about how much mental energy is wasted on control. Replaying conversations, worrying about future outcomes, trying to predict everything. Marcus would say, "You are exhausting yourself unnecessarily." The future doesn't exist yet. The past no longer exists. Only now does. Letting go brings presence, and presence brings calm. Marcus also applied letting go to expectations of people. He wrote reminders like, "Do not expect Plato's Republic," meaning, don't expect people to be perfect. They will disappoint you. When you accept this, you stop being surprised by human flaws, and surprise is what fuels resentment. Marcus chose understanding instead, not approval, understanding. That shift frees the mind. He also let go of the need to be remembered. Fame didn't interest him. He wrote about how even the greatest names fade. Why chase what time erases? This is radical detachment, not apathy, perspective. Marcus wanted to live well, not be remembered. The art of letting go, ultimately, is about trust. Trusting that doing the right thing is enough. Trusting that outcomes will unfold. Trusting that you don't need to grip life tightly. Grip creates tension. Release creates flow. Marcus Aurelius didn't escape chaos. He learned to move calmly through it. That's the lesson of meditations. You don't control the world. You control your response. You don't control events. You control meaning. When you let go of what you can't command, your mind becomes lighter, sharper, freer. And that freedom, inner freedom, is what Marcus Aurelius believed no empire, no enemy, no circumstance could ever take from you. That is the true art of letting go. So here's the truth. Marcus Aurelius didn't write meditations to escape life. He wrote it to face life without breaking. He taught us, control your mind, not the world. Let go of opinions, ego, and anger. Accept pain without drama. Live with urgency, not fear. Do your duty, then release the outcome. That's the art of letting go. Not giving up, not running away, but choosing calm over chaos and discipline over emotion. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. If it is endurable, then endure it. You could leave life right now. Let that guide what you do. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Life will always test you. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. But peace is still possible, not by controlling everything, but by mastering yourself. That's what Marcus Aurelius left us. And now the choice is yours. Control your mind, or let the world control it.